Okay, imagine this. You're at home, it's late, maybe putting the kids down.
Yeah, winding down.
Exactly. And suddenly, bam, flashing lights in your driveway, blue and red.
Oh, wow.
And it's your mom, who you weren't even expecting, being pulled over, just like that.
Okay.
You step outside, still in your pajamas, trying to see what's up, and things just, they escalate fast.
It's a scenario that really hits close to home for a lot of people, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. That ordinary moment turning into something, well, alarming, raises big questions about rights, police conduct.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into two, frankly, deeply unsettling incidents. They both involve the same Kentucky State Trooper, Myron Jackson.
Right.
Our mission here is to unpack these events, look closely at the allegations, and explore what they tell us about our liberties, how police operate, and, how the legal system actually works or doesn't in these moments.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just about the headlines. It's about getting into the nuances, the real-life stuff.
Definitely. And we should say our insights today, they come from some detailed sources. We're looking at analyses, body cam footage, legal filing stuff shared by the civil rights lawyer over on YouTube.
Yeah, that footage gives you a real minute-by-minute look at how things went down. Very valuable.
So let's start with the first case. Kristen Johnson. She's a dental assistant, mom of 3 kids, pretty young, 2, 7, and 10.
Okay.
This happened July 31st, 2024. It's late, maybe 9:45 p.m. She's in her pajamas, getting the kids settled, and she sees those lights. It's her mom, pulled over by Trooper Myron Jackson, right there in her driveway.
And the reason for the stop is key here, right off the bat. Jackson claimed the mother's tags expired on July 31st.
On the day.
On the very day. But here's the thing. Kentucky law is actually quite clear. Your registration is valid through the expiration date.
So they were still good.
They were perfectly valid, which means the entire basis for the traffic stop right from the start was unlawful.
That initial unlawful stop. Wow. That seems like it just poisons everything that comes after, doesn't it? How often is that initial interaction the whole linchpin?
It happens all the time. If the stop's bad, everything flowing from it is potentially, tainted. Fruit of the poisonous tree, as they say.
Right.
So Kristen, she's understandably shocked, sees how her mom's being treated. She does what many people would do now.
Grabs her phone.
Exactly. Goes inside, gets her phone, comes back out onto her porch or the sidewalk there, and starts filming. Silently. About 25 feet away.
Okay, so she's filming. And we know, generally, you have a right to film police in public. What are the specifics there? Was she clearly within her rights?
Oh, absolutely. Constitutionally solid ground. You can film police performing their duties in public spaces. The main things are don't interfere, keep a safe distance.
And 25 feet, silent, on her own property. That sounds pretty safe, pretty non-interfering.
Couldn't be clearer, really. She wasn't yelling, wasn't getting close. Textbook exercise of a First Amendment right.
But Trooper Jackson, he didn't see it that way. The body cam, it's pretty intense. He gets visibly upset she's filming.
Yeah.
Walks right up to her. And he threatens her. He says, "Go inside of the house or I will take you from your kids and take you to jail."
Wow. Just lays it out there.
A direct threat.
Yeah.
And Kristen, she actually responds, says she has a right to record from a safe distance.
Which she absolutely did.
Yeah.
She stood her ground, asserting her rights. But that assertion, instead of maybe causing him to pause, it seemed to be the trigger.
It really did, because what happened next, it's just awful to watch. He grabs her wrists.
Just like that.
Just lunges, grabs her wrists, forces her hands behind her back, cuffs her. She's barefoot, remember?
Oh, man.
He yanks her arm. She falls down onto the gravel in her own driveway.
Falls hard.
Onto the gravel, yeah. And then he drags her across the gravel to his cruiser.
Drags her across gravel.
Yes. Then shoves her basically on her hands and knees into the back of the car. Doesn't even seatbelt her in. It's all on camera.
Oh, that's incredibly violent. And all stemming from her filming. And the kids?
That's the other heartbreaking part. She's crying, pleading, "My kids are inside. I need to be with my children."
The 2, 7, and 10-year-olds.
Right. But Trooper Jackson, he just disregards it. Drives off, leaves the kids there alone with their grandmother.
Okay, leaves them with the grandmother. At least they weren't totally alone.
Well, here's another layer. The source material points out there were apparently family court orders saying the grandmother wasn't supposed to be alone with the children.
Oh, really? So he didn't just leave them. He potentially left them in a situation that violated a court order.
It seems so, which shows, a real disregard not just for Kristen, but for the kids' situation, the legal orders, everything.
That's a shocking level of indifference.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was she charged with? He arrested her, took her away.
He charged her with 2 misdemeanors. Obstructing governmental operations and resisting arrest.
Okay, obstruction and resisting. Common charges in these kinds of escalated encounters.
Yeah.
But what happened in court?
Well, this is key. The judge in Franklin County, Kentucky, dismissed all the charges, threw them out, said there was no probable cause. And this was after a contested hearing where Trooper Jackson actually testified.
Dismissed. So the judge heard Jackson's side and still found no basis for the charges. Why? What about obstruction?
Well, under Kentucky law, obstruction requires affirmative interference. You have to actually do something to physically interfere or obstruct.
And filming silently from 25 feet away.
Is not affirmative interference, the judge agreed. Plus, crucially, if the initial stop of her mom was unlawful, which it seems it was.
Then she couldn't obstruct a lawful operation because it wasn't lawful to begin with.
Exactly. And resisting arrest.
What was the basis for that? Did she fight him?
Jackson claims she resisted by tensing her arms when he was cuffing her.
Tensing her arms. That's it. Kentucky law requires use or threat of physical force or violence against the trooper. Tensing up is usually considered force or violence in that sense.
And the judge clearly agreed. Didn't meet the standard. So the whole thing, illegal stop, illegal arrest, and then charging her for things she didn't legally do, that's malicious prosecution.
It's a trifecta of rights violations.
Yeah.
And I assume there's a lawsuit now.
Oh, yeah. Her attorney filed a federal civil rights lawsuit.
Makes sense. It's a really stark case.
It is. And disturbingly, it brings us to another incident. This wasn't isolated. Less than 3 weeks before the Kristen Johnson arrest, Trooper Jackson was involved in another incident that also led to a federal civil rights lawsuit.
Less than 3 weeks before. Okay, that suggests a pattern might be emerging.
Yeah.
Who was involved this time?
This was Nicholas UNJ. He's a Cameroonian immigrant, a naturalized U.S. citizen, working as a DoorDash driver.
Okay, just trying to do his job.
Exactly. This was May 1st, 2024. Trooper Jackson pulls him over. The reason? Allegedly failing to use his turn signal when pulling into a Papa John's.
Another very minor traffic infraction, just like the expired tag.
Very minor. So Jackson asks him, "Where are you coming from tonight?" And Nicholas pretty calmly just says, "I'm not answering any questions."
Okay, asserting his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, which you absolutely can do during a traffic stop, beyond identifying yourself.
Right. And Jackson's initial response is recorded. Okay, that's fine.
Seems reasonable enough at first.
But then immediately after, he says, "What's the attitude for?"
Ah, there it is. Nicholas was calm, just asserted a right, and it's interpreted as attitude.
Exactly. No apparent attitude, just a statement of rights. Anyway, Nicholas complies, gives Jackson his license and registration.
So he's cooperating with the lawful demands of the stop.
Yes. But then the source describes it as, out of nowhere, Jackson demands Nicholas get out of the car.
Orders him out for a turn signal violation after he provided his documents. Why?
Nicholas asks why. Jackson's reply, "Because I'm telling you to get out. You don't have a choice."
Okay, legally, where does that stand? Can police just order you out for any reason during a stop?
It's tricky. The Supreme Court case, Pennsylvania versus Mims, says officers can order drivers out for officer safety during a lawful stop.
For officer safety. But
they can't do it just to punish someone or to go on a fishing expedition for other crimes or, and this seems key here, to retaliate because someone asserted their rights, like the right to remain silent.
And Nicholas asserting his right seems to be the only thing that changed just before the order to exit.
It looks that way. The timing is very suggestive of retaliation.
So what happens when Jackson orders him out? Does Nicholas refuse?
No, the body cam shows he didn't resist, didn't threaten, didn't interfere. He's just sitting there. But then things get, well, dangerous and almost absurd.
How so?
Jackson reaches in, grabs Nicholas, and starts physically pulling him out of the car.
Pulls him out.
But get this. He does it without telling Nicholas to put the car in park or turn off the engine first.
Wait, what? He pulls the driver out while the car's still in gear?
Apparently. Because as soon as Nicholas is out, the car starts rolling forward, idling away with nobody driving.
Oh my God. That's incredibly dangerous.
Jackson has to jump back into the moving car to stop it. And he even says on camera something like, "Didn't really think it through."
You think? That's a massive, potentially catastrophic lapse in judgment. What if it rolled into traffic? Or hit someone?
Exactly. A total lack of critical thinking in that moment. So after he stops the car, then he handcuffs Nicholas.
And what's the charge this time? Let me guess.
Obstructing governmental operations. Again.
Of course. Same charge as Kristen Johnson. And what was the supposed obstruction? Sitting in his car when ordered out, even though the order itself seemed unlawful.
Seems to be the implication. But later on the citation, Jackson added a note about concerns Nicholas might be intoxicated.
Intoxicated. Did he do any field sobriety tests? Breathalyzer?
Nope. None whatsoever.
So that sounds like a pretext, an after-the-fact justification for the order to exit, trying to make it seem like it was part of an investigation rather than retaliation.
That's exactly what the analysis suggests, trying to cover for the potentially unlawful order and arrest.
And what happened with that charge? Did it stick?
No, just like with Kristen's charges, the prosecutor dismissed it.
Dismissed again.
Mm-hmm.
Because, presumably, just like Kristen, Nicholas didn't actually use force or physically interfere to meet the Kentucky standard for obstruction.
Correct. And his assertion of the right to remain silent is protected. Ordering him out seemed retaliatory, not based on legitimate safety concerns for a minor traffic stop where he was cooperative.
So, putting these two cases side by side, Kristen Johnson, Nicholas UNJ, the pattern seems pretty clear.
It really does. You see these minor traffic stops, maybe questionable stops to begin with, escalating rapidly.
Yep. Then you see arrests for obstruction, where legally there doesn't seem to be any obstruction under Kentucky law.
And crucially, in both cases, the escalation seems directly linked to the person asserting a basic constitutional right. Filming for Kristen, remaining silent for Nicholas.
It looks like retaliation. Punishing citizens for knowing and stating their rights. And that's deeply problematic. We also saw a real lack of sound judgment in stressful moments, like with the rolling car.
Yeah, that was wild. And this isn't just about one trooper, is it? The sources point to a broader context within the Kentucky State Police.
Right. It's mentioned that several KSP troopers have actually faced federal indictments recently. And there's this allegation of a wider practice within KSP, an illegal and unconstitutional practice of using false obstruction charges.
So Kristen and Nicholas might be examples of a systemic issue, not just one officer's bad day or bad weeks.
It certainly raises that question. And get this, the current head of the Kentucky State Police, Commissioner Philip Burnett, he himself was sued for similar conduct years ago.
The current commissioner sued for what?
Similar things.
Right.
Needlessly escalating a situation.
Yeah.
Falsely arresting someone who is asserting their rights. The appeals court, the U.S. Sixth Circuit, even denied him qualified immunity in that case.
Wow. So the court basically said his actions potentially violated clearly established rights?
Exactly. Which leads to a pretty uncomfortable question, right? If leadership has faced similar accusations, where are troopers like Myron Jackson getting it from, as the source puts it? Is this behavior implicitly or explicitly condoned?
That raises serious concerns about the culture, the training, the accountability, top to bottom.
It points towards potential systemic problems rather than just isolated incidents. The repetition, the specific charge used, it suggests something more ingrained.
So tying this all together, what does this mean for you listening right now?
Well, it's a stark reminder, isn't it? You need to know your rights. The right to film police in public. The right to remain silent beyond basic ID during a stop.
But it's also more complicated. These cases show that sometimes just asserting those rights can, kind of paradoxically, be the thing that triggers an escalation from law enforcement.
Yeah, that's the really tricky part. Knowing your rights is crucial, but understanding how asserting them might be perceived and potentially lead to illegal retaliation is also part of navigating these encounters. It's a tough spot for citizens.
Absolutely. These cases really highlight that ongoing struggle for police accountability. And the legal system, it eventually worked in these cases. Charges were dismissed, lawsuits are proceeding. But look what Kristen and Nicholas had to go through first.
Right. Arrested, charged, having their lives disrupted, all for seemingly doing nothing wrong or for simply asserting their rights. It encourages us all to think critically about these interactions.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've seen Trooper Myron Jackson involved in two very troubling incidents, showing a pattern of escalating minor stops, making questionable arrests for obstruction, apparently in retaliation for citizens asserting rights.
And this is happening against a backdrop of broader concerns about the Kentucky State Police, including past conduct allegations against its current leadership.
It leaves us with a lot to think about.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Given what happened to Kristen and Nicholas and how the legal system responded, how can understanding these specific details, the laws, the tactics, the outcomes, empower you? How can it help you be a more informed voice in your own community's conversations about civil liberties and police conduct, especially around this critical issue of asserting your rights?